So by this point, I had this entire highlighted region that you're looking at here as an idea for a full song. And that's all from creating those 5 initial rules that we had at the beginning of the project. What's up, gang, and welcome to another episode of Inspired By, a series where we look at the musical trends, past and present, to understand the techniques used so that you guys can make better music. My name's Will, and I make music under the moniker Hushchild. Today I wanted to make a video to help you overcome beat block, or writer's block, or creative block, whatever you guys call it. It's equally frustrating. Now, obviously, different strategies work for different people, and this is just mine. So if you have something that works for you, please leave us a comment and help out the community below. This is my strategy. I want you to think back to a time when you was listening to something that made you feel truly inspired. Take some time to revisit that music. For me, it was the year 2010. I was consuming so much electronic music. It was truly eye-opening, and I was discovering the sounds of Fortet, Mount Kimby, Bonobo, Toki Monster for the first time. For you, it might not be a year of music, but a genre, or specifically an artist. This thing that you remember makes you feel inspired. This is going to be our theme. Let me jump into the DAW real quick and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so once I'm in my DAW, what I'm going to do is create 5 groups, and I don't mean 5 tracks, actual groups. So right click one, audio track, and then you can duplicate this. You can give it a color if you so wish at this point, or you can do it at the end. But Command D, create yourself 5 groups. And once you've got those groups, Command S to save, and save your project as the theme for this. So I'm going to call mine 2010 EDM, but you name it whatever your theme is. It could be a genre, it could be an artist, whatever your theme is cool. So these 5 groups, they're going to become your rule. And what do I mean by this? Well, within 2010, I consumed so much music, and a lot of those albums shaped how I feel about production today. One of the artists that really blew me away was Bonobo, and the thing that I love most about Bonobo was his drums. The drum design was unlike anything I'd heard before, with found sounds and the snare not sitting centrally, but instead hard panned left and right, or maybe claps or percussion with something small in the center to glue it all together. That was something that I really appreciated about Bonobo's album Black Sands, and it made me want to learn more about production and designing a drum sound. Now this is about you overcoming your creative block. So if your theme is a genre, I want you to think about an artist within that genre whose drum sound you really paid attention to. And if your theme is a particular artist, then think about the albums or tracks they had, and which of those tracks had a drum sound that you were really attracted to. By this point, and with the ring light in my eye, you can probably see where we're going with this. I'm going to rename the groups that I've created as the artists whose instruments I want to replicate. And before the internet jumps in with,
"Oh, but you're just recreating sounds that other people have made,"
let me remind you that this is just an activity to overcome creative block. Not everything that you create needs to be something that you're going to go on to release. But I promise you, if you finish this activity, somewhere along the narrative, your imagination will take over, and you'll start creating things that you didn't think were possible at the start of the exercise. Let me show you. Okay, so now we're back in the DAW. I mentioned that I had this group here called Bonobo drums. This is what it looks like in the arrangement view. So how did I get to this conclusion? Well, what I did is I brought in Bonobo's track here, and I stretched it to the BPM that I was working at. You probably already know inside yourself what type of music you want to create, or what genres you normally create, but it's just about unlocking some of that creativity. So what I did was stretch Bonobo's song to the BPM that I was in the arrange page, and that gave it a slightly different feel to where it was at originally. Here it is in its original tempo. And at my tempo, it sounds like this. Okay, so not worlds apart, but I'm going to try and recreate that, right? I didn't want to listen to it too often, so I muted it up and I thought about the genres that I normally create, which you guys probably recognize as lo-fi. So I wanted it to be slightly down tempo, much more chill. Well, this has got a very 2-step groove to it. So I thought, well, why don't I put it in half time? I'm going to choose to just have 1 snare in this sequence instead of 2, and just 1 open hi-hat in this sequence instead of 2. But I'm still relatively going to try and recreate the pattern of the closed hi-hats. This is what that sounded like. And then I remembered that Black Sands by Bonobo had loads of found sounds in it. So I wanted to create those in the drum track as well, as lots of ear candy and additional percussion. This is what we were left with. By the way, all of those drum sounds were from Soundsmith's sample pack. Just search them up on soundsmiths.co.uk or search Soundsmiths on Splice. So I don't have a track yet, I've just got a drum track, and you're probably not feeling the progress that you're making because you've just essentially recreated a drum track. You don't have a finished arrangement or even a loop yet. And I was in the same position. Okay, whilst we're talking about finishing projects, I just released some new music myself, and I did so with the help of DistroKid, who is today's sponsor. DistroKid makes it so easy to release your music on all major platforms. This includes Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, and even social medias like TikTok and Instagram. DistroKid has a really helpful function called Teams, and what Teams allows you to do is add collaborators and create splits for any of these collaborative songwriters. The brilliant thing about Teams is that you can add collaborators at any point, and you can retrospectively look at what splits have been made. You can also edit and remove collaborators and adjust the splits. Of course, your collaborators will also need a DistroKid account, but the great thing is that when you invite them, they'll get 50% off their first year. If you want to sign up to DistroKid and start releasing your music, then use the link distrokid.com/VIP/Will Hatton and you'll get 7% off your first year. Now with that out the way, I'm going to throw these back on and we're going to jump back into the door. So I looked at my next group and I remembered Black Noise's album. And I took a little time to revisit that album. The tracks that I was listening to in 2010 were rife with Euclidean rhythms. And I've done a video already on Euclidean rhythms, so make sure that you check that out after. And this isn't a rule just for Black Noise, but a lot of music in 2010 featured found sounds and sign plucks as well. So I figured, why not combine those, the Euclidean rhythms of Black Noise and those found sounds to create my melody. And I came across this loop. I absolutely fell in love with the sound, so threw a few plugins on there, just a reverb and an auto pan, and then fired up my Euclidean sequencer. This is playing 11 events over 19 steps and sounds like this. So I fired up another Euclidean sequencer with just a sine plug, and this is playing some different melodies as you'll see down here. You can see the rotation of these arms are all different, and that's going to create some variety sitting over my previous Euclidean rhythm and my drum stem. So it might not be the same for you, but right now my imagination started to take over and I added my own lo-fi audio effects rack, and all the way through this track I'm adjusting the filters and the beat repeats and the isolation and so on and so forth. But it's not over yet. I still needed to add bass and pads and everything that makes up a finished song. The bass I kept super simple. It was just fulfilling a role. So I thought back to the releases from Mosca and Mount Kimby. In Mount Kimby's Crooks and Lovers, they often used sine tone pitched down with some attack, and the hip hop sub bass preset fulfills that role perfectly. It gives a lot of punch, but just adding the R-Bass Waves preset makes sure that that sound is pulled out of like laptop speakers and just gives it a little boost in aggression. There's really not much going on. When things started to get really exciting, it was when I thought about Teeb's Ardois album. I'm hoping I'm not mispronouncing that. There was loads of soundscape pad sounds that you just couldn't recreate from presets. And again, I have another video on how to create unique pad sounds from noise, just like Burial, if you're interested. So I created some pads from found sounds that sounded like this. And I just automated that by using this LFO from the Max for Live community. And that's mapped to my EQ, as you can see here, but also this DJ M filter, which is a free plugin from Xver. Before I added these, it sounded like this. And you can see that this is the original sample, and it's kind of got an element of randomness there where you can hear some chatter and some other Foley sounds. It absolutely wasn't thick enough, so I added some other pad presets, some noise whose rate is also being controlled by the LFO, and some more Foley sounds. And this is what it sounded like. And then of course, all of those things were uniquely sidechained to the kick drum as well. As we come to the end, one of the things that really sold me on music from 2010 was the sound of baths, specifically Lovely Blood Flow and Animals. He used so many found sounds in his music and different types of field recordings that it really painted a scene for the music. So within the rhythm, I cut up some different Foley sounds to create this. Using Foley sounds can be kind of confusing for the listener if there's talking in the background. So apart from the shout, I reversed everything else. The only other thing that I didn't reverse was this little breakdown here. I thought that was a really good place to add a break in the music just before the bass entered the song. So by this point, I had this entire highlighted region that you're looking at here as an idea for a full song. And that's all from creating those 5 initial rules that we had at the beginning of the project. 5 different artists who I really respected who were releasing music in 2010. Remember, whatever your theming and rules are can be whatever inspires you creatively. All that was left was to change this loop into an arrangement. And the last thing that I wanted to do was create an introduction. So I just took all of these melodies minus the drums and threw them into Portal. I stretched and skewed the audio by resampling it until I had this. Then I just automated the noise level in and started bringing in my elements. So there we have it, guys. I hope you found that helpful. I hope that if you are suffering from beat block or writer's block, that you're not alone within the community and it will pass. But try this exercise out and let me know how you get on. And if you're not suffering from writer's block, I hope you learned a couple of new things from the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you can find your way back when a future upload goes live. As always, if you fancy downloading the Ableton effects racks like the Lo-Fi or any of the projects we've featured in previous videos, then head to patreon.com/The Will Hatton. Anything else that I've mentioned in this video or previous can be found in the description below. And for now, guys, I thank you so much and I'll see you next time.